Tank Akali is back. We've got a new lethality build popping up on Smolder, along with so much more to cover in today's video as we bring you guys 10 of the most OP new builds for patch 14.24. And do you remember when knowing how to set up a freeze in low elo made you special? These days, you're considered a troll if you don't know what a freeze is. Problem is, challengers are so out of touch with the fact that everyone in low elo has improved, so if you ask for help, you just keep getting the same outdated advice. Or even worse, they give you tips that only work in high elo, like how you should sync up your wave crashes with your teammates in multiple lanes to set up invades or objective priority. The theoretically correct play is usually not what actually works in your own elo. Oftentimes, it's something that may seem out of the ordinary, like split pushing as an ADC that will give you way more agency. We teach you the correct way to play League like everyone else does, but also the adaptations that actually work in your elo, so you'll always have multiple great ideas for what to do to win games. We're constantly producing and updating our strategies with players getting better, so SkillCapped is by far the best platform for learning League of Legends. We're so confident that if you don't climb 5 divisions while actively using SkillCapped, you can claim a full refund. Our service has zero risk with the potential to save you tons of time in your climb, so make sure to give us a try. So kicking things off with a couple top lane builds, we covered a build for Volibear in one of our recent OP build videos that consisted of rushing Cosmic Drive. However, there's a new setup going around that takes things one step further. You're still going to rush the Cosmic Drive, but it's actually Rocket Belt that is going to slot in second for a very offensive 2-item core. Now, of course, we've seen other AP builds on Volley in the past with Nashor's Tooth and Riftmaker. However, this build has alternative strengths. Nashor's with Riftmaker is really good if you're living in the side lane and are split pushing. However, the Cosmic Drive with Rocket Belt core offers up a much more powerful team fight. Both items provide health and ability haste, which allow for Volley to thrive a lot more in extended fights. The active from Rocket Belt combined with the movement speed from Cosmic Drive really adds to Volley's sticking power as well. The enemies are just not going to be able to kite you, and your access onto enemy carries is really great with this setup. For the rune page with this build, look to grab Press the Attack, followed by Presence of Mind, Haste, and Last Stand, while Demolish and Overgrowth are for secondaries. There's a new Renekton build that's been seeing play in the higher elos recently, and it's a very offensive assassin-like build. We're not exactly sure who was the first player to start using this build. However, one of the best Renektons on the NA server who goes by 3-in-1 Warrior has been playing the build. So the rush item is Trinity Force, you go into Ghostblade second, and then Cyrilda's Grudge third. It's all about one-shotting squishies in one rotation of spells with this build. If you're going up against an enemy top laner who's more squishy, that's where the build will thrive the most. It's definitely more risky to play this build into a tank, as they can just stack armor and negate a lot of the power from lethality. Renekton is a champ who has a very strong early to mid game, but falls off the later games go. So by playing a more offensive build like this, you really lean into that early game domination and just look to close out games super quick. The rune page you should be running revolves around Conqueror with Triumph, Alacrity, and Last Stand, while Second Wind and Overgrowth are for secondaries. We've been seeing quite the priority shift in Briar builds over the past few patches as Titanic Hydra has been climbing in play. Blade of the Ruined King is still the most popular rush for Briar, however, Titanic is performing at a near identical rate. So these options are just really nice right now for Briar because Titanic is going to slot in super well in games where the enemy comp is more burst heavy. By rushing Blade, you are a bit more vulnerable to getting bursted out, but with Titanic, the item offers up 600 health, so it really limits what burst champs can get done against you. As long as you can survive that initial rotation of spells from a burst champion, so that's what going for Titanic allows. The entire core build is all-out Bruiser, as after rushing Titanic, you go into Black Cleaver second and Sterix Gage third. Due to all the health that this core build provides, it gives you a lot more margin for error with Briar, so if you're newer to the champ, it's definitely the build we would recommend you play. The optimal rune page to grab with this build consists of Press the Attack, followed by Triumph, Alacrity, and Coup de Grace, while Freeboots and Cosmic Insight are for secondaries. For a while now, it's been Kraken Slayer with Sundered Sky as the standard 2-item core for Viego, but there's an alternative core that has gained a lot of traction as of recent. Trinity Force is the rush, and then the Collector is the second pickup. Third item will be Immortal Shield Bow, so this build has much more upfront burst potential than the Kraken build. Of course, you're going to be a little bit less durable, however, the catch power and ability to delete a squishy is way better with this Trinity setup. The 50% crit that you're getting from the Collector and Shield Bow has great synergy with Viego as well, since his Q damage scales off crit. For the rune page, you should be taking Conqueror with Triumph, Alacrity, and Coup de Grace, followed by Freeboots and Cosmic Insight for secondaries. There has been a new Akali build popping up recently and being played in high elo to a lot of success. Cat Evolved, who's a well-known multi-season challenger player, has been spamming this Tank Akali build in his recent climb and winning at an absurd rate. Now, the original credit for this build goes to XPDU, as he made a post on Twitter, or now known as X, a couple weeks back, and he's been cooking up some really interesting builds on there, so definitely check it out. So the rush item for this Tank Akali build will be Deadman's Plate. Deadman's has some really nice synergy with Akali because she's able to take advantage of its passive proc very frequently with how her trading patterns play out with this more tanky build. You're going to need to be weaving in auto attacks very regularly in a skirmish in order to succeed with this tankier build, and therefore the added damage from Deadman's passive will be of great value. After rushing Deadman's, you go into Riftmaker as your second purchase, and then round out the core with Abyssal Mask. The Deadman's into Riftmaker combo is just all about outlasting your opponents in those extended fights. Riftmaker has the ramping effects the longer a fight lasts, while you'll be getting multiple Deadman's passive procs off. The rune page to go alongside this build consists of Conqueror with Presence of Mind, Haste, and Last Stand, while Second Wind and Overgrowth are for secondaries. A setup that has made its way into meta on Aurora, and that's outperforming every other build right now, has you going way more bursty. Malignance with Leandries has been the cookie cutter build for Aurora for a while, but going for Ludens into Shadowflame is leading to far better results. The catch and burst power of this build is significantly greater due to the superior ability, power, and magic pen that it provides. Malignance with Leandries is solid for those more extended fights, but if you're playing against a squishy comp, you're not going to need extended fights to take them down. When playing into squishies, definitely look to try Ludens into Shadowflame, as it's going to open up more windows of opportunity for you to catch and delete your targets. For the rune page, you will be taking Electrocute with Sudden Impact, Eyeball Collection, and Ultimate Hunter, followed by Mana Flow and Scorch for secondaries. A new Smolder build has been on the rise over the past patch that provides him with a lot more early to mid-game power. A challenger ADC and former pro player Reptile first showcased this build on his Twitter or X account, and it's taken off since then. Rush item is Hubris into Zeal and then Last Whisper. Zeal is going to build into Fire Cannon, and then Last Whisper eventually builds into Lord Doms. The reason you don't complete Fire Cannon right after building Zeal is because by going for Zeal into Last Whisper, you are able to obtain 10 Jack of all trades stacks to gain full value out of the rune. Essence Reaver is no longer needed on Smolder because of the buff he got to his Q in 14.23, to where you gain 15 mana back when killing a target. So you can go for a very heavy AD setup with Hubris and really take advantage of the ratio changes that Smolder got. Smolder's Q and W were both changed from total AD ratios to bonus AD ratios, and with how the Hubris passive works, you're able to gain a ton of bonus AD from the item. In regards to the rune page that you should be running with this build, it's going to be Comet for the Keystone rune with Mana Flow, Absolute Focus, and Gathering Storm, while Freeboots and Jack of all trades are for secondaries. There's a new build you need to be playing on Ashe that has gained in strength over the past patch. Wild Arrows is now Ashe's best rush item due to the buffs that the item received in 14.23. Players are still sleeping on Yuntal though, as only around 10% of Ashe players are building the item. You just get a lot of attack speed from Yuntal due to the 25% it provides, and then the 30% from proccing its passive. You then go Phantom Dancer second, and coupled with Lethal Tempo, your extended fight power is incredibly strong. To round out the core build, it's either Infinity Edge or Bloodthirster, depending on what you need most for the specific game. If you're having difficulties surviving fights due to lots of dive on the enemy team, then go Bloodthirster, but if not, take Infinity Edge. The Keystone rune is Lethal Tempo with Presence of Mind, Alacrity, and Cutdown, followed by Biscuits and Approach Velocity for secondaries. Zoe's support has been seeing a lot more play as of recent, and there's a specific build leading to really great results. The majority of Zoe support players are building her like a mid-lane mage with Ludens as the rush. However, Imperial Mandate is heavily outperforming. It's not just Mandate that is unique about this build either, as Celestial Opposition is what's working best for the support item upgrade. With Mandate, it's just a much cheaper rush item, and it's going to provide you and your ADC with a nice early spike to snowball off of. When you land a bubble with Zoe, you're going to activate the Mandate passive so that when your ADC is following up, their burst damage will be higher. By going Celestial Opposition instead of Realm Spike, you're able to play more aggressive, looking for those catches with E. You're just a little too squishy without Celestial, as any kind of misstep will have you bursted out quickly. The rune page for Zoe support is Dark Harvest with Sudden Impact, Eyeball Collection, and Treasure Hunter, followed by Absolute Focus and Gathering Storm for secondaries. It's not just Zoe who's been really sleeper with Imperial Mandate, as you need to be running the item on Yuumi as well. Yuumi has actually been buffed this patch, her Q damage going up, so playing a more offensive Mandate build is going to add to that damage output from Q even more. Right now, Mandate on Yuumi is winning more than any other rush item, outclassing the more popular option in Moonstone by over 2%. Now, after rushing Mandate, you don't stop there in terms of offensive output, as you're going to grab Ardent Censer second. This build is all about buffing up you and your ADC's damage output as much as possible, so that your snowball power in 2v2 when you get ahead can't be matched. The best rune page for Yuumi consists of Airy with Mana Flow, Transcendence, and Scorch, while Font of Life and Revitalize are for secondaries. Alright guys, one last thing, our rank up guarantee is insane. It's like signing up for the gym and getting a refund if you don't get ripped. That's how confident we are in SkillCapped. We obsess over making the best guides with top players, rigorous testing, and top tier video editing to make your climb easy. If you're ready to level up, visit SkillCapped.com and see the difference. So there you have it everyone, 10 new OP builds that you can look to try for patch 14.24. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you back soon.